Okay. All right,
But we
so,
still have the administrative minutes.
And they are
correct.
Very extensive.
Okay. So for the record, you're going to submit your letter, but I have to refresh it. I have to have a proper stream. I just want to make sure it's still working.
And then I have a question.
Yep, no, we're still live again. Oh,
Yeah,
no.
it's fine.
No, that is
Oh, no, that's
Steve Leventhal. Maybe I need to get
Yeah, we're
to,
live, it's working.
it says we're working. You just want to check on your phone?
But that's Gershon is still speaking, so it's picking up where it left off.
Yeah,
So we're
all right.
delayed, we're on delay.
So we're a little good. So for the record, you're going to be submitting your questions and comments to the record.
You get it from the start, that's the fun.
All right, as long as Rich says we're live. then we're live.
So I have a question while, so who told you that people can just drive up your driveway and look at your house anytime they want? Because I know what the law says, but I
I
want,
mean, I would assume that if
This is a public interest type of thing, isn't that what it's all about? Like,
people
No.
can see I'm just worried that if people look at the
well, you know what it is,
landmark
like,
home, they might just come and try to see it and then,
yeah, I
even
mean,
the inclusion of the house in the village map that Mitchell made, or whoever made that, it mentions the house, which is in and of itself dangerous, because if someone were to walk, there's not safe sidewalk there, there's not safe driveway. Just the mention of it just kind of invites danger. There's not a way to turn into our driveway legally, because there's no right turn signal. So a police officer might stop you if you turn into our driveway.
yeah, I mean, you can't enter, it's still private property, even though it's a landmark.
I understand that.
So you can't enter the private property.
The problem is when people know that, like, oh, someone might be interested to see what landmark homes are, they might slow down on the way to try to see it. I know, whatever that says, you cannot see our house from the
Yeah.
road, it's not possible. So it just, in addition to all the other things we said, is another concern.
Right, we don't want someone getting injured near home, because there's a lot of accidents in front of our house, so we don't, like, school buses, and we don't need anything else. But yeah, we just put the other issues that you might have missed, the first couple of issues, we sort of hit on the fact that we never got a response to the unrecusal issue. We never got a response to our legal letter about how the conflicts of interest were resolved. So that issue sort of an outstanding issue.
The timing of everything just seems very suspicious.
Actually, I came in as the discussion was ending, so I don't believe it is. I mean, it's an issue that there will not need to be a response as to that. The fact is, I'm pretty sure that Steve Leventhal just reviewed with you the law on the fact that there was no conflict and which precluded him from participating.
We feel
And he made the recusal himself.
he made the recusal,
Yeah,
we
how
were
does
never
that-
told
how does
why,
that
and we were never
undone?
told why it was undone. We were never informed of
Determined.
any of it.
Because he determined that there was
Right, so that was all very.
So he happened to determine it at the second that they
no.
had
Of
to
course,
vote.
you asked a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, just the same answer, it's just frustrating.
Yeah, it was a strange moment. It made us not feel as comfortable about the landmark commission that's assessing our house, because there's kind of this strange behavior that's taking place around recusals and not recusals, and can we vote, we can't vote, let's adjourn, let's have them come back, let's adjourn. It's just kind of like, this doesn't feel like a serious thing. It felt like,
He happened to unrecuse
Yeah,
himself at
it's
the
very
moment that he
obvious.
had to vote.
Yeah.
It just, I mean.
you know, my attorney was laughing, he couldn't believe that there was no
So
proper
just-
explanation.
Well, a couple of things. I think what you just said was my attorney was laughing, but the important part of that for me is you just said you have an attorney. Are you represented by counsel, and why is that attorney not here then? Because I want to give you every opportunity, if you're represented, to have your attorney here.
We made the choice to come tonight on our own.
Okay, because it will be at that point that your attorney could make your argument. I do disagree with you to the extent that you're characterizing what happened at the meetings. I was there. Meetings are just that. There are discussions that go back and forth. That's what happened in this meeting. A board member can make a determination, and a board member can change his or her mind. They can ask for input from legal counsel, and that, I will tell you, is what happened.
All right,
They
I
made
mean,
a determination.
what we explained is that we still believe that the conflict of interest exists, so we can continue on with that dialogue. There's a couple of issues that still exist, so,
And what are the other issues?
that
Other than what you
the
just
board
said.
member's father and my wife have the same employer.
Also, my mother used to be his father's boss. It just seems the whole thing.
It's a little too close for comfort.
It's not him, but the whole thing, that's another, I wasn't gonna bring it up, it's fine.
But you did bring it up.
There's
You did bring it
It's on the public
multiple
record.
conflicts here. It's not, you know, there are conflicts here.
How does the fact that What's the relationship again?
Mitchell Schwartz's father was your teacher in
He
high
was
school,
my
and
teacher.
that's a conflict
We
for
have the
this.
same employer currently, and my mother used to be his father's boss, but not
Well,
boss employer.
We have our village attorney.
Yeah, how is that
If that's
It's
something
not- I
that he will guide us in, if that's a
I don't think
conflict.
it's fine.
Then we can negate that as a factor,
It's
and we can
fine.
return
I
to
don't
the
wanna,
original.
I don't wanna
factor.
talk about that, 'cause that
Okay.
seems like it's just becoming a
Yeah,
can
no, no, it's-
I'm not interested in
The
that.
main issue is that he's on the Roslyn Landmark Society Board, which is who oversees the covenant on our home already. So it's a conflict for him to be voting on our house when he's already in a position where he's
Okay.
overseeing. It's the very
And
obvious
that's-
conflict of
And that's,
interest.
well, and that's, when I came in and I heard Stu Weatherfall, I thought very clearly explaining that he has, and Mr. Schwartz, to the extent you're alluding to him, has no cognizable legal conflict with respect to that. He doesn't have an interest in it as a board member. But that's your position, and you'll take the position. I disagree with you, and I think it's incorrect.
Okay,
Okay,
well,
I'd like the board to consider that too.
we've made it very, I think we've made our point very clear. We don't want a house landmarked. You can do with that with what you want. It has a covenant on it already. It is very protected. If you landmark our home, that is up to you at this point, I guess. It seems quite unfair that we have no,
We can appeal, I mean, it's just, it's
the
just,
whole thing seems
we'd like the
very
board to
unfair.
consider everything that we stated here.
And we appreciate
You know,
your comments.
there's a lot going on here,
appreciate
it's not just a house on East Broadway, it's a very different
And,
situation.
and for the record, the reason the Landmark Commission considered this property is if you were to today come into Village Hall with a demolition permit application, that would be granted by Peter Obinsky, because there's nothing in our files.
But what
Don't
about
shake
the
your
Roslyn
head.
Landmark
Hold-
Society?
Hold on. I'll speak and Jeff can correct me. The Landmark Society has no say in the Village of Flower Hill when it comes to building. Peter doesn't have that information. It's not in our building file here because it's not part of our building files. Landmarking puts a red flag on your property or any other landmark property to prevent it from being materially changed or to be knocked down. That's why the Landmark Commission is met to identify certain properties, to put in essence that red flag in our files to stop it from happening. You could have covenants with whoever, and you could come in tomorrow, Peter grants you that permit because he doesn't know that there's covenants, you knock the house down, then what happens? The Landmark Society goes against you for
Well, can't they do that? Couldn't they say you violated your covenant? and
after
take action?
the fact if the house is knocked down. How are they gonna know when the bulldozer comes to knock the house down? We don't notify them and they don't notify us. It's two different entities.
We're the building department of jurisdiction. We don't, as a matter of course, ask people for.
For the
their
record,
covenants and restrictions,
Peter,
so we have no
For the
knowledge.
record, this is Peter Obinsky, just for the
Yeah, Peter.
recording.
So, actually, it's happened before where we were apprised by a neighbor that, oh, by the way, that neighbor has a covenant restriction on a setback or something. We don't gather that information, so since we're the jurisdiction that has authority over building, it's important that we have something on our records that show those restrictions. And yes, it's a duplication, but it's important, you're not gonna do it, maybe the next owner wants to say, I want to take this house down, or I want to alter the house. They do it, they come into here before Roslyn even finds out. So that's, for me, from the building department standpoint, that's the important part of doing the landmarking, so that we're aware of it. It's sort of overlaying, in a way, the same thing that Roslyn is doing. I don't think it's making it more restrictive, but it gives us who issues building permits the knowledge that those restrictions are there. That's from the building department standpoint.
Go ahead.
I guess, I understand that perspective. And that was not really ever spoken to us. It's just, the whole process has been so frustrating because we've been dealing with this since, I think, November. I think we got the letter in October. And first of all, that perspective has never once been.
Well, it was mentioned once.
I don't know, maybe I wasn't at that meeting. But I just, from our perspective, to say one day to a potential buyer, yes, we know our house has locational factors, whatever, and we have a covenant, and we are landmarked by Flower Hill. I mean, you can imagine that people will just run for the hills, not Flower Hill, a different one maybe. And it's very frustrating, but also the fact that when we were originally told, well, if you don't want to be landmarked, if you don't want to landmark you, it just feels like it's been a runaround. And it's been months of our lives, getting babysitters or
It was
like,
our choice.
and now
It
it's
just
not,
changed,
and
yeah.
it changed, and it feels like, a big switch, and just overall very frustrating. I understand that position that you're talking about.
It's a tough scenario to
I
actually
mean, if
happen,
you're selling the
but,
property,
you
they're
know.
gonna know, they're gonna obviously become aware of that.
Yeah.
So this is really just informing us here that exists.
Is there a way to do that outside
So-
of landmark?
Yeah,
So I want to kind of set your mind at ease a little bit. So I happen to be landmark commissioner for the town of North Hempstead. North Hempstead has certain landmark districts where the homes are landmarked. There has never been an issue selling a landmark house. As a matter of fact, House on Reed just recently sold for $2.1 million, just about a couple of weeks ago. It's a landmark property. The people that bought it because they want a landmark property. So there's really no connection, in my experience, either in the Roslyn Historic District or the Port Washington Historic District, that landmarking damages resale value of the property. There's always a market for landmark properties. I'm an architect. My colleague, Trustee Lewandowski, is an architect. We know that there's a group of people who seek landscape properties because they want to say they live in a landscape property. They want a plaque on their lawn. They want to continue to preserve history because it's important to all of us. So I wouldn't worry about the whole resale value issue of the property being landmarked because I've never seen it impacted. If you look, you can go on Zillow, you can check in the Roslyn Historic District or Port Washington Historic District. The houses that are landmarked go for more than the houses that aren't because there's a perception that the house is more valuable because it's landmarked. So I think you should probably not worry too much about selling.
From that perspective, and I appreciate that there's.
So,
people like that.
yeah, and yes, you'll get a buyer somewhere who'll say like, oh, I may want to change the front of the house. Then that's not the right buyer for that house because they don't appreciate the value of a landscape property. So I just wanted to kind of make you sleep a little bit better knowing that if this does happen, that you're not losing value in your property.
I appreciate that.
The only other thing, I'm sorry, I just want to point out, continuing with what Mr. Linsky was saying is, I think it's important to recall, the homeowners themselves, they're saying they didn't know about the existence of the covenant as it was, so they didn't know about those requirements. They came out through the process, so had there not been the landmark process, nobody would have known about it, wouldn't have come forward. So I think it's not really a belts and suspenders thing, it's an anti-whatever protection.
I can just ask the residents a couple questions. So I guess if you can honestly answer this, before you knew there were covenants, what did you think about having to care for your home? How did you view the care for your home?
We love our home. We love the way it looks.
And in terms of its historical nature?
We find that to be very cool.
Right.
We like that.
Right.
But had we known, I don't want to do anything to my home. I really do think it's beautiful. I love it the way that it is. And we like historic homes. Our home before this was also a historic home, not landmark, but it was in 1890s. We like that look. We are a good buyer for someone like that. We're who you're talking about, people who want to buy homes like that. Had we known that it was landmarked, or that there was a covenant, it might have deterred us because to us and to many people who I've spoken to, I know you have maybe different experience, that equals headache. It equals oversight, it equals visits to our home, it equals, possibly having trouble selling it in people's opinion, maybe not yours but other people we've spoken to.
So what people said was they all bought their homes as landmarked. It was not something that as they were owners, it was, oh, now we're
Right,
going
so-
inside their home now.
Right, so I
It's
guess
unusual.
my question, my follow-up question would be, did you have buyer's remorse at the moment you found out you had a covenant?
We were a
We
little
were like,
bit
let's see
concerned.
this covenant, let's see what's going on in here, like, we were
I
like,
was like, oh, I might have painted my door black, but I guess I won't now, you know, I mean, and that's fine, because I think the door is beautiful as white, and it's fine, but I just,
but yeah, I mean, I
it
don't
made
know
us
what we
feel
would've
a
done,
little,
you know?
Right. And then the last question I'd like to ask is, if there were no covenants and this was up in front of the board, how would you feel?
for us, we never plan on changing the home, so it wouldn't, it's irrelevant to us, how would I feel, like,
No,
We're comfortable with this.
would you
Yeah.
would you be comfortable that we would want to landmark the property if there had
Oh,
been no
yes.
covenants?
yes, I'd be
Okay.
okay with that.
All right. So, good. That's,
I think, hold on, am I understanding the question correctly?
I'm saying if there was no covenants and this was up to
Right,
the
No.
because
board.
there's a distinction, a little distinction between landmarking, which is more public, and covenants, which clearly can be kept somewhat more personal.
So the privacy is an
It's-
issue too.
It's the issue that when you say to somebody, oh, it's a landmark house, they might be like, oh, your house already has a driveway, and you can't get up with a car, so we're just gonna walk away now.
And you can't get.
And our house was on the market for 6 months, so it might only be
Actually, our
two
house was
people.
on the market for a year.
A year, why not, you know, it's that one buyer that might get turned off might be the thing that really, I know that they might not.
There might be
They
also, it might also be the location of your house.
It might also
You know,
be that.
let's
It
face,
might also
let's
be
face facts, it's not
Well,
the,
that's what we
yeah,
know, of, but we
it's
knew
tricky,
that, that was
yeah.
the knowing evil of our home, I guess, in terms,
Right.
but the added, and we're this, and we're that,
Yeah.
is,
It also just feels like we
It
have
seems like a
protections,
lot.
we're all here.
it
It's
seems
not-
like a lot of words
Yeah.
to tell
The
the
jobs
potential
are-
buyer.
Jeff, this is exterior only when we landmark? All right, so it's different than the Roslyn.
Yeah.
It's
I
less
mean,
restrictive.
Roslyn is, you know, if you
Right.
move your couch, they come and they,
Right.
you know.
It's very nice.
Ours is strictly just to prevent people from making a marketable change to the house or.
Or to be knocked
There's
down.
no way to do
Or
this.
to knock it
We're
down.
trying to prevent this house from
That's
being
the
knocked
only
down.
way to do
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
To put a restriction on
That's
all those.
how,
There's too many people talking,
Yeah.
sorry.
that's how we're, on our records, we go by what's in our records, not a deed, not covenants and restrictions that we don't have privy to.
Is-
Not just your, I mean, now everybody knows about this house, but it comes across, like I said, I've had it happen in other situations where we didn't know about covenants that were put on, because we don't ask for those. So this was a means, and as stated, I don't think it's less restrictive than the Roslyn. So, yeah, again, you're thinking it's like piling on to a potential buyer, but it's less restrictive than the Roslyn. So it's really just our way of, you know, because we are the village that issues building permits, doing this puts it on our record also, in a little bit of a lesser way.
Is there any way to just file our covenant in the home's file? I mean, is that just possible, so that when they go to it, they open and they see the covenant?
It is, it's part of the legal record, I think, when you.
I mean, instead of landmarking, can't we just put this in a folder? So it shows, hey, there's a covenant on the home?
Just.
Well, legally, I don't know if we enforce,
Peter, we do not enforce that covenant. That covenant is not with this village.
But a couple of things, presumably, what you're holding was actually filed in the county clerk's office, and there would have been a title search when you were purchasing the home.
Right.
And it should have popped then.
I
So I
agree.
can't tell you why it didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
But it didn't.
And that's actually,
That's
the
not
point.
unusual, that's not unusual.
Let Jeff finish up.
Which leads to this, which is to say, this is a mechanism by which the village that does the permitting, that handles the permitting, can make sure that it's not missed again. Yes.
Because 5 years from now, Peter won't be here, Ronnie won't be here, most of us probably won't be here. The next generation of this board and village administration won't know about this covenant. This keeps it forever, so that nothing happens when you're still here, or the next homeowner's here, or the following homeowner here. That's why we're doing it. It's to prevent something from happening that shouldn't happen.
and if I can ask Jeff a question, I don't know that I can enforce a covenant between parties if it's not part of a village ordinance.
You can't.
So like, as one example, there was a covenant that increased the side yard setback for any accessory structures. It was in the covenant.
Hmm.
I think we brought it up at the time, I couldn't enforce that. wasn't part of, it was beyond, in excess of our village code, and it's between parties. So that's why we need to do it here also.
Okay.
This is all new information and conversation that's taking place now.
I
So
think-
just, so you know, we're not voting on this tonight. So just, I'm sorry, I should
I
have
still don't
phrased
think
it
this
anyway.
motion could have even been brought to the board tonight.
So I'll disagree with you, and if you want, you can hire an attorney, but we're not going to vote on this tonight. This will give everybody time to absorb the information, and we'll have another public hearing at the next meeting.
We're all gonna come to your house.
Can't wait.
Um,
Good luck getting up there.
But, so two things
Be
I want to
careful,
address.
put yourself
You
in
made,
the
you
gear.
made two accusations. One, the village has no financial incentive.
We're just
to landmark.
curious. We were
The
actually
Just
village
curious.
has no financial
Okay.
There's no
incentive
state
to
aid or
landmark.
any reason why.
Number two, the Roslyn Landmark Society tours houses on a random whatever basis. You coming up as a tour had nothing to do with Mitchell Schwartz
How
talking
do
to
we
them.
know that? How do we know that if he's
Did
on the
you
board?
did you speak with them and ask them? You said the gentleman was a nice guy who's in your house. Did you
Yes.
ask him why they came?
Did I ask him why he came?
Did you ask him why he
No, I
came?
wasn't
Did-
trying to be combative with him.
But instead of
I
making
didn't ask him if someone
instead of
voted,
making
who
an
came onto the
accusation
commission,
against
you
one of
know.
my landmark commissioners, did you do any research first? Or are you just going to make accusations? Because I know Mitchell Schwartz did not contact the Landmark Society to tell them to visit your property. Probably the last time it was visited was, what, maybe 10, 15 years
Does
ago?
he
I
get a
can't tell
vote
you.
on who's on the covenant commission for the Roslyn Landmark
I
Society?
can't answer that question, and he's
I
not
mean,
going to
it's-
answer that question
It's a conflict
tonight.
of interest.
But you're making accusations. And for the record,
We're not making
they're
accusations, we're
yeah.
making assumptions.
We're
That's
speaking to
accusations.
conflicts of
So
interest that exist.
for the record, I don't believe that the Landmark Commission visiting your property this year had anything to do with what we're doing. I'm just going to state that. You can
ask
disagree.
I'm not saying
No one
that
knows.
he definitely
No,
did, we're just saying it seemed too coincidental.
It's
You made
the kind
the
of
ac-
conflict
you made the
you want to
accusation.
separate, you know.
I don't actually, did not make the accusation, I did not say that he did that, we said that we thought it was possible, but that's okay. We won't know because the video wasn't working, but I did not say that he did that, I just said that we thought it was possible, that there was. a
It's the
connection.
reason he recused himself to begin with. We know that.
So that our village attorney has already decided that he didn't need to recuse himself.
Okay.
So that's acceptable for us.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Janice? You looked like you had a question.
No.
Any other board members with some questions? Anyone else from the public who have any questions? That being said, I
Have you
will,
had the opportunity to review the,
So, you gotta state your
name
name.
and, for the record, name and address.
sorry, Scott Miller, Nassau County.
I'm sorry?
Address.
Gotta be a little more specific.
Sorry, so the 57 West Shore Road.
Oh, Mr. Miller, okay.
Have you had the opportunity to review the differences in the covenants that are already there and the new ones that are going to be added with the?
No, not seen the covenant or anything.
No, the new, we have not seen the landmark,
How could you not see the covenants? You said
not the
that.
covenant, the landmark.
Oh,
He's missing.
Let Jeff answer that part.
So there wouldn't be new covenants in it.
Not
That's
covenants, the
it's
landmark.
the landmark
It's the law,
section of the code.
it's the code.
It's just a document that is signed onto by this board.
No, you're asking about what provisions cover properties under the landmark portion of the code. It's within the code. It basically indicates, and I'll give you the section of the code as you leave, and you can review it and then return to questions on it. We can certainly bring them up to the board. It essentially indicates that when somebody is seeking to make any changes to a landmark property, that rather than just going before the building inspector, that they need to bring the application before the board of trustees. And then the board of trustees reviews it. But let me give you the section right now.
I don't think that's what we're asking.
So 143, chapter 143.
I think what you're asking is it a new covenant on your property?
No.
It's not, it's
Sorry.
information by the village.
What I was asking was, presumably some of the covenants on there are interior things. You had mentioned that there's exterior restrictions that will be placed by the Flower Hills Historic Society. How do those
What are they?
meet up?
What are the exterior?
I think it's just.
There aren't exterior restrictions, it's that before you can be approved of doing work on the exterior, the board of trustees has to approve it. And they will look at such things as how does this affect the aesthetic of the property? How does it affect the historic nature of the property? But it's not a new set of restrictions.
So it doesn't say something like we can't, it doesn't have any specifics. It's
It
just-
actually has more latitude than the covenant.
So what, if we come to you to do something, you are just going to let us know if we can or cannot to the exterior. Got it. Thank you.
But it was great.
That's, yeah, that's not what we're looking for, that's fine, if you want,
But I thought that's what was being asked by the gentleman.
that's fine. Okay, I feel at this point that you have heard what we have to say. As you can see, this has been a frustrating process for us, from being led to feel like this was our choice to being told that it was not. And that we have some concerns about the entire process. But it seems that you will do with the information what you will, and it will be decided,
And we'll circle back.
and we will find out how it all unfolds. So at this point, I have no further things to say. You're good?
No.
Thank you for listening to us, we appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks,
I would ask, is the mayor then being carried over to the next board meeting, which is,
July 10th.
may I just, are you available July 10th? I just want to make sure that we're.
I'm sorry.
We'll circle back on that
It's just
too.
in the calendar.
Second Monday of July.
Yes, I will be here. I will put it in the calendar.
So I'll make the motion to adjourn this to the Monday, July 10th meeting at 7:30 PM.
For a second.
I will second that.
7:30? Yeah. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
The
you.
record
Thank
shows
you.
the motion was carried unanimously.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing portion of our village meeting, if I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. I will open up the public comment.
That is,
Oh.
there's not enough.
What's your?
One moment.
Wait, hold on.
Moment.
We're having a semantic problem.
Yeah, there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did anybody take an extra packet? Mayor, did you bring a packet up from downstairs?
No, I have mine because I was drawing all over before the meeting.
The next one here.
Oh, we got one down here. Hold on.
Pass it down.
Here you go, Mary Jo. Sorry. I am going to open up the public comment section of the meeting. I have a quick question. Is Miss Erin Lightman here?
Erin Scott, yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, it's okay, Lightman's my name.
I'm sorry. So the Lightman part. Your email comes in as Erin Lightman.
Yes, I never
So,
changed my email.
I apologize. So even though you are at the later portion of the meeting, I'm going to move you up to the
Thank you,
public comment section of the meeting.
I appreciate that. Everyone. I'm Erin Scott, my address is 95 Drake Lane in Hassett, Nassau County. Anything else? So I did send an email a month or two ago requesting a stop sign at the intersection of Drake Lane and Chanticleer Drive. And I was asked to come forward, so here I am. I didn't know if there was gonna be a map here. I made my own little map of the intersection.
That's a wonderful man. Very
I
nice.
don't know if anyone's familiar with it, but I do invite you to come on over to our part of the neighborhood and check it out. So I've lived on that street for 5 years, but I have been a resident for 17 years at Flower Hill. So I just wanted to explain why we feel like we need a stop sign over there. And as you requested, I did go around and speak to neighbors. I spent 2 hours on Thursday walking around, and in 2 hours I got 42 signatures.
That's wonderful.
So I'll submit this to you after. Okay, so the thing is that this intersection isn't like a regular intersection of two, I'm gonna call them typical size roads. It has an incredibly wide mouth when you drive up it. So Chanticleer goes from north to south off of Stonytown Road, and Drake Lane runs east to west. So there are a lot of near misses, I would say, occur on a daily basis. I am a driver, and I also walk the area. So some of the issues that happen are people drive up Chanticleer north, and for some unknown reason, they don't like to stay to the right side of the road. So if they are driving up and want to go left, they, for some reason, either go to the middle of the street or literally hug the left side of the road. And then if you're going straight, which is what I do every single day, if you go straight this way, they come up and basically almost run into whoever's going east on the road. I don't know why they don't stay to the right. I'm hoping that a stop sign would actually bring people to the stop sign and the stop line and realize they're supposed to stay on the right side of the road until they turn left. So that's the first thing. People literally turn straight over there. The other issue is, I tried to make this look like it's a hill. This Drake Lane, when you go west, goes down, and there are a ton of kids in our area, which is wonderful. They all go biking, and they like to go careening down this hill, and a lot of people who come up going north almost hit them. The other day, I saw this father with his son, who was probably 4 years old, on a little scooter, and I thought this car was gonna plow into them. So people come down this way, and then these cars go up north and almost hit these kids and dog walkers. And then today I also saw, this was also great, this person was driving north and didn't slow down and then went up this way to make a right, and this person on Drake, and also no one's using signals.
No, it's signals
which is another
signals
issue.
optional.
You're preaching to the
I
choir.
mean, it's really,
We-
it's sad, it's
it-
very sad and it's scary. So this person was coming west,
Mhm.
going down Drake, and didn't make a wide turn this way, and went over here and almost slammed into somebody. So again, I go straight every single day. I don't have my blinker on because I'm going straight, yet people think that I'm gonna make a right-hand turn every single day. Someone's gonna smash into me and everybody else. People were enthusiastic to sign this. I cannot even tell you. In fact, they were like, we'd also like stop signs on Drake and Hemlock. We also wanted, someone else wants a stop sign on Drake and Mallard. I said, let me speak to this first. There are a lot of kids. We love having them. I really want everyone to be safe. It's just a dangerous spot. I'm not sure what other suggestions people have. I don't know if a stop sign should go, I personally think it should go on the top of the hill on the right, but I don't know what an engineer would say. Maybe they would want it on Drake. I don't know.
So
So you're saying
It's dangerous.
so you're saying put the stop sign
on Chanticleer.
on
I was
Chanticleer?
thinking, if you put it over here,
Yeah.
On Drake.
what that would do, going up Chanticleer, right? So if you put it over here and you put one of those stop lines also, it would signify to the driver, especially somebody who's unfamiliar with the area, like a delivery person. It would, first of all, it would make them actually stop. It would make them stop,
Maybe,
right,
yeah.
to see if somebody's going left, right, or straight. And then it would hopefully keep the person to the right side of the road.
But it wouldn't solve the problem of like Drake going onto Chanticleer that way.
No, it's more more of the issue is like, if you stop over here on the right, then whoever's on Drake and needs to go straight can go straight, or if they need to turn, they'll turn right. But what happens is that people come up, and if they're gonna go left, they don't stay to the right side of the road. They either go to the middle, or they go all the way to the left.
Yeah, they do that. I live on a three-way just like that, Cherry.
Yeah.
And I have 3 stop signs. And nobody stops at any of them anyway. Doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, that's unfortunate.
So-
I
But
really
people
hope-
tend to do that. They when they make a turn, they tend to, for some weird reason, when they make
It's
a
just
left.
so
they-
wide, so I was just hoping like maybe this was an extra safety measure for the people who would know. I mean, I would hope that people in the neighborhood don't do this, but, I mean.
Well,
So
for
here's
you drivers.
here's what I think we're gonna do. So
Okay.
first of all, thank you for not coming in last month, because you give that drawing.
Yeah.
I appreciate you postponing for last
I
month.
brought my drawing.
Last month we had a very long.
Let me say, your drawing's fine.
Last month we had a very long meeting, so I appreciate you
Yeah,
delaying
sure.
1 month to come to this. And thank you for going out and getting the support of your neighbors, which is always a very positive thing.
Claire
I don't-
Dorfman signed it as well.
Yeah, but
I know
she should not have signed that.
I know, she
Yes.
did it because she
Claire and I-
wasn't gonna be here
Yeah,
tonight.
Claire and I spoke. I know she supports it, but yeah.
Okay,
But I don't want to speak for her per se. For the record, we've actually received communication, phone calls from residents who don't want the stop sign.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just letting you know.
That's
We're not
fine.
voting on it today because what has
Okay.
to happen is this is actually a change to one of our local laws. So we have to have the requisite public hearings. Where
Okay.
having your signed petition is wonderful and helps the process.
Okay.
We'll have 2 public hearings. The people will be able to come and
Sure.
speak for or against it.
And maybe there's also like another idea someone would have.
Yeah.
So let me,
Make it a
let me,
one-way
let me
street.
finish first. Let me
Oh, sorry.
finish before we go. For the record, when we've done, we've had traffic engineering studies in the village. None have ever indicated that there should be a stop sign on that street. So just know, we've had, that's been a while, but we've done traffic studies in the village. So no one has ever indicated to traffic professional that that's a spot to put it. I know your corner well. I've been through it many times. I went there today just to get refreshed. Yeah, it's very wide. It's very weird. I can see how you're concerned that people are taking the shortcut, the short point between 2 points. I will eventually, before we finish, just so you know, I will make the motion to have the public hearing next month if the trustees can vote for it. But my concern is I'll have to speak with Rich, who's here, our highway supervisor. I have to find out where we're legally allowed to put the stop sign.
Okay,
Because that's such a wide mouth,
I know.
you really want it all the way closer to Drake. However, now it becomes this really long stop sign, and it might make more sense to put it more south. However, then it becomes a problem for the north. So I'll review it with Rich for the next meeting to see what
Or
the
maybe even on Drake,
we'll have to figure that out.
where the stop, where the sign is, the sign is.
So we
I
have to
don't even
figure
know.
out
I think
where
that's part of the problem is
based
that
based on the guidelines of where you're supposed to put stop signs. And
Okay.
Rich has been to highway school. We have to determine what's the optimal one and the suboptimal place to put it. Where you're asking for it to be might not be.
Sure, I know,
allowed.
I completely understand.
So we'll
and
figure
appreciate
that part out before the next board meeting.
And what if, this is all conjecture, so what if a stop sign is not, if the, traffic person doesn't feel that that's an appropriate signage, what else could be done then to slow down? Not even slow down, just.
Well, it would be nice if people obeyed the law because I know
I love that.
that when
You
you
just lowered the speed limit.
when you
Sometimes it's just they're going left.
I understand, but when you enter an intersection, the other cars, anybody going up Chanticleer has to yield the right of way to the other cars. That's that you learn that in the driving test. So, Mitchell, I'll grab you in a second.
What we
They
have
just don't
here-
want to pay attention to the law.
Right, what we have.
Unfortunately, it's your neighbors. Go, Gary.
What we have here is actually a collision of 1950s roadway design, suburbia roadway design, with bad behavior, contemporary driving behavior. And so my view on it, and I've studied this a bit, is that the only way to change behavior is to change roadway. So the fact that there's a wide mouth, maybe the only practical reason you could say is make sure that the fire engine can get to a house. But I think it's probably overkill, what I've seen. There's a few of them in my neighborhood as well, off of Mason, that why would you ever have a mouth that wide on a roadway? So what a tighter radius and a tighter roadway and a tighter radius does actually makes people slow down, because you have to make the sharp turn. You can't make the swoopy turns. So that particularly is on the left-hand turn. That people just see that big sweep, and it's very seductive to the driver. Oh, I can sweep over here and make that turn. And we all have power steering. I don't know why we can't be able to turn sharply rather than do the swoop.
Unless you're in a Formula One car, you want to cut the apex.
So anyway, I do think this is actually an opportunity.
My wife was just in a bed in 2 weeks.
Randall, I think this is actually an opportunity where, there's been things that have been done in certain municipalities of how to deal with traffic control and understanding how to change people's behavior. And it has to do with, and it can be done on a very temporary basis. It doesn't have to be permanent. Where it maybe yields some data that would say, hey, that's a good idea, or well, that wasn't such a good idea. But I would be open to that because I do think the stop sign, although it may be part of the solution, it cannot be all the solution or even foolproof solution.
Okay.
So I'll just add, it's a depressing statistic. So,
Yes.
and I'm like the stop sign guy and on the board. As my colleagues know for the last 6 years,
All
I
he does is
complain,
complain
all I
about
complain about
stop
stop signs.
signs.
2 weeks ago, my wife was in a serious car accident. She's okay. Somebody ran a stop sign, plowed into the side of her car. $25,000 worth of damage. Luckily, my granddaughter and her are fine. But take a guess. There was a study recently done by another state that measured or took inventory of people stopping at stop signs. Take a guess at what you would say is the percentage of people, and I mentioned this to the chief of Port Washington Police because he's a friend of mine. Take a guess what you think the percentage of people that come to a full stop at a stop sign.
So a full stop, I believe, is 5 seconds. Because my friend just got pulled over in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, as long as the car stops.
And the guy pulled
Yeah.
over and said you did not stop for a full 5
Well, that's
seconds.
Pennsylvania. But
So I'm assuming for 5, I would say it's probably 20, maybe lower,
Okay.
15% of people.
so
stop
it's
for 5 seconds.
3%.
Wow.
Okay.
5 seconds is long.
30% of
That is
people,
great.
30% of people roll through, and 65% of people don't stop at all. So it's unfortunately something that, and I live on a corner, a three-way intersection. There are tons of kids. All day long, I can sit and watch cars, just trucks, cars,
Yeah.
blow through the stop signs like they're not even there. Not even slowing down because there's no enforcement. So what's the risk? How many stop sign tickets does Nassau County issue in the town, in the village a month? None. So without a deterrent, who's going to stop the stop sign? So I think what we need to do as a board is probably more of a public awareness.
This also be like a trap, like in my neighborhood, we have a small traffic island, like,
Yeah.
right? And we have to circle around. We
So
have
somebody-
very small.
Oh, that's the one by
Like,
Gary's
yeah,
house.
like a very small triangle, like.
On Boulder?
So
No,
what I
Russell.
people, when
Oh, right.
All right, one conversation. Shh, guys, one conversation, everybody.
When I was knocking on people's doors, people have a lot to say, by the way. Yeah, I was so pleasantly surprised. Maybe it was because of COVID. Everybody wanted to talk. It was so nice. But one person said, "We were just talking about this the other day. I was cursing in the car, blah, blah. I think we should put a little island there." And I said, "I'm not in charge of what people want to do,
That's
but
gonna just.
I think, what? I mean, I just, and again, some people slow down. I think it's just like, I don't know if it's for people in the area or people who are not in the area, but it's just, I was thinking of like, what could make people realize they need to stay to the right and just like turn to the left, turn to the right before you keep going where you're going. I'm not saying stop signs
Well, I got another
do
interesting.
stop people. I think people who are good drivers are gonna stop no matter what. They're good. But just, I don't know, it's a very loosey-goosey corner and I'm afraid.
So another quick thing. Senator Jack Martins has introduced a bill in the state senate that would allow municipalities to put cameras on
Love
stop
that. Sorry.
signs. So
Mary Jo, tell us how you feel about that.
it's being done right now in, is it Saddle Rock or Thomaston?
Saddle Rock.
At least two.
It's only in Saddle.
Saddle Rock. They do it. They
Rockland
send out
Estates
a
was testing
ticket.
it.
If you pay it, they make the money. If they pay it, they, it's great. If they don't pay it, the village doesn't go after them because they don't have any legal basis to do that. But Jack has introduced a bill that will allow, and I think it's been sponsored also by the mayor of East Hills, Village of East Hills, who has cameras everywhere.
So there's no assembly co-sponsor yet.
Not that I know.
They're
Like,
trying
this
to
is,
find one.
this
I
is
just
what
spoke
I
to
heard
his
through,
office.
through Jack's office?
I just spoke.
Yeah, okay.
Well, maybe
So,
everyone can put their heads together.
So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cut Frank off because you've been here long enough. Sorry, Frank. Let her go.
I could go on about stop signs all
He
night.
can. I'm gonna make a motion
That's great.
to hold a public hearing at the next month to
Okay.
put in some sort of stop sign. We'll have to figure out where, when, why, and how.
And so
However,
what happens, so you invite the neighborhood to come? and
we
people
just
give
like
comments
the
like
previous
this?
public
Anyone.
hearings,
And do I give my comments again?
I would love for you to
If you'd
give your
like.
comments
Okay.
again.
Wait, okay, here's one question. Like when I had an issue, when a resident asked me about Elderfields, not Elderfields, what was it, Rich? Elderfields and Boulder. And you went with who to look at that and then came back and said, based on this is why, like, who do we have that did that with you? Was it just you?
Me and Randall went.
Oh,
Oh, you're
okay,
talking about the little traffic triangle thing?
yeah,
Yeah, Rich and I,
Confusion
yeah.
okay. I didn't know if we had like a traffic study engineer that had come
We
in.
can, and we can spend a lot of money for each and every one of these opportunities, but we try not to. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make a motion to hold a public hearing next month's meeting. You are certainly welcome to come, and I highly recommend you do, because this is the Scott law. We'll name it after you. I will speak to our highway superintendent between now and then, and we'll decide where we could put the stop sign, if there's any other alternatives, because I was just, based on what Gary was saying, I was thinking of if we square off the corner with some striping. Thank you, Gary, for the suggestion, because I'm not gonna rebuild the street in a month. Maybe we can see if that helps, because now instead of everyone racing across, maybe we do that. We have to figure out how that would affect putting in a stop sign, but let Rich and I put our heads together between now and then. If we need to change something, maybe we don't have the public hearing. But otherwise, let's get the wheels
And may I
turning.
ask, like, for the people who don't want a stop sign, what was their reason?
I did not speak to the person.
Oh,
Ronnie spoke to the person earlier.
okay.
There's
That
al-
nobody stops.
There's always
They didn't
someone.
want a stop sign because nobody stopped.
Well, yeah, and he felt like the intersection does not lend itself to a stop sign.
But that's what we have the
Also,
public
it's
hearing
Yeah,
for.
no, I was just
like a
curious.
traffic circle or some kind of a, triangle might be there.
And that's something we
Okay.
could look at
Yeah.
long-term,
Okay.
but short-term, putting a stop sign in is pretty quick. If we're talking about a road reconstruction,
Right,
that's not happening until next year.
right.
It's going to take some engineering services, it's going to take
Okay.
some money, it's going to take ripping up the road. So
But the temporary solution's a great idea.
I think the
Yeah,
temporary
striping
solution
would
might
be
be
a
good.
good
We'll
idea.
call
Yeah.
it Gary Stripes. So
Go get some
I'm going to make the
yellow.
motion to hold a public hearing at the July 10th meeting to add a stop sign,
Introduce local law J,
local law J.
Okay. Yes, a stop sign at the intersection of Chanticleer Drive.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All
I'm
in-
sorry, the second was trustee Lewandowski?
All in favor? Any opposed? Good. But we'll do some thinking between now and then and see what else makes sense to help, other than putting someone there and being traffic cop. We'll
You
see
get
what else we
crossing
can
guard.
do.
I just mostly do this.
Yeah,
And
I do that.
just for the
I'm the
record,
person who does this.
I give them a.
just for the record, if and when this board does approve a stop sign, no one can come and complain that no one stops at it, because no one will stop at it. And that'll be the next complaint.
Again, I'm just hoping that it's, just like a little.
It's a visual
like,
deterrent to
It's
slow
just
them
a
down.
deterrent for
I
people,
understand.
and really also just to stay to the right and take an extra second. For the, it's like anything
Look,
else, if
three-
you're a good person and you follow the law, then you won't have an
And
issue.
you'll have 3% more people stopping than you would.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for
Bye.
coming, and I appreciate it. All right, let's move on to unless there's any other, Mitchell, did you want to make a comment? But I don't think you needed to make a comment.
Peter.
Gary.
Who's
All right.
setting
He's Peter.
He can be Peter today. All right, if there's no other public comment, let's get to the rest of our meeting.
Okay, regular meeting approval of the minutes
Sorry.
of the May
But you
1st.
guys are on the agenda for later on.
No, she's in the public comment, she's after
No.
appeal of Arbor's decision.
Yeah, that's number 3 under new business. That's towards the end of the meeting.
You just did number 2, right?
I changed the order of the meeting around.
So you're not gonna like.
No, I'm not. We have to get through the rest of the public meeting because I believe this is going to be a rather lengthy conversation. Ron, you want to lead
Okay,
the rest of the meeting?
can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the May 1st regular meeting public hearing?
I'll make- oh, go for it.
I'm sorry, who's that? Okay, trustee Smith?
I'll second it.
Trustee Denise, deputy mayor Denise, all in favor?
Aye.
The treasurer report and claims, so we have a motion to approve the claims. There's 2 claims this month because we are at the end of the year.
Aye.
One is for last year and one was for this year.
As always, I have reviewed and signed off on every single claim. And like usual, I think everything is proper. I'll make a motion to accept the abstract as is.
Do we have a second? Okay, deputy mayor, all in favor?
Aye. Except for Max, who always makes his normal.
Right, and that was an aye. Okay.
Sorry, I had work.
Abstains. Okay, next, architectural review.
Architecture review, this was the May 30th meeting. 309 Crabapple, you see a long list of items. This is the second time before us, but we had some very specific comments that we gave the opportunity of the architect to submit. I haven't gotten it yet, but of course, it is subject to us approving it if you approve it here tonight. 10 Peachtree, this is also from zoning. Just some clarifications on the materials, and that was approved as submitted. 114 Dartmouth, we had a number of items with that, and we asked them to come back with some significant changes. 33 Birchdale with solar panels, we approved that, they were on the rear facing roof. And 15 Brookside, although there were some comments about ceiling heights, they stayed with what they submitted as approved. If they come back with something else, that'll be another review. And that was our projects for that.
Peter, have you heard from Ed at all?
I reached out to him today, he's working on it. So again, it's subject to him getting approval from us.
Peter, on 10 Peachtree, it being a quarter-acre property, the zoning board had no issues with outdoor kitchen being too close to any neighbors or anything?
It was a lot coverage variance, wasn't the setback variance.
Okay.
They went twice to the zoning board. Second time they reduced it back based on the board's request. So they were still over by some, but greatly reduced, but it was just a lot coverage.
Okay, as long as that was just, anytime I see outdoor kitchens, I always get concerned because you have smoke.
Okay, do I have a motion to approve the findings of the architecture review committee?
I'll make the motion.
Second,
I'll second.
Mr. Franklin is second, all in favor? So moved. Sorry. Highway superintendent report?
Thank you, Mr. Albinski.
Okay, then I'll go right into that. Okay, first, you received a report on the results of our 2023 road contract bids. The low bidder was Trustees General Contracting at a total of $210,544.25. After discussion and vetting by our village engineer, we are looking for a motion to approve that contract.
So this is under our budget, correct?
Yes.
Perfect. Because I'm sure someone on the board will have that question. And our village engineer did the due diligence on Stasi General since they are new to working in the village, and everything that Steve researched has passed muster, correct?
I spoke with two companies with him and one other he did on his own, and all were good reviews on, on their things and everything, so it all checked out.
Okay. So that being said, it gives us the base bid and it lets us do some of the add-on work that we wanted to do. We're under budget, which is great. I would like to make a motion to award Stasi General Contracting with the total package, the base bid and add-on. And the reason we're doing it so quickly this year is I want to ensure that all the road work is done before the school year. Last year, we weren't able to do that, and we had some issues with school buses being rerouted, and it was causing some problems with pickups and drop-offs. So we can hopefully start this right after the 4th of July if we're lucky, and that will ensure that we're only interrupting some camp buses, which is a lot less traffic than school buses.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve contract with Stasi General Contracting, the amount of $210,544.25. Second
I'll second.
by Deputy Mayor. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I have a couple of add-ons. First of all, software update we received on the tablets, code enforcement, and building department field work to use with Unicity. So that's the latest.
So we're almost mobile.
Oh,
We just got them working today with the cell phone, the cell chips. So It is hopeful that Peter can do all in-field inspections live on an iPad, no more paper receipts.
Nice.
And Jack can start doing his code work on iPads, look things up, and have to call into Heather to say, hey, is there a tree permit for this property? And then we can take care of those things instead of constantly calling in from the field
Awesome.
and interrupting our staff so they can get their work done.
Okay. My add-ons are that we received an application for a block party on Dartmouth Road on June 10th, between 2 and 10 p.m. I have a motion to approve that.
The next block over.
Next block, okay.
They've
I got the
contacted,
invitation.
so they've contacted Nassau County Police.
Yes, they have, they've
Perfect.
done everything in
Didn't they do
accordance with
that?
our
They've
block
done that
party
before.
policy.
They've done that before in Dartmouth, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
They do it every year, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good party.
Yeah, it's fine.
And does it close at 10? Like, have there been any issues with?
You know what, I've gotten complaints from other block parties, but not that
You
one.
would, so Mary Jo, since Gary lives a block away, he would be the best to know. I heard he's the one who's making the noise at 10, but that's just.
I haven't heard a peep after 10 o'clock down block.
And Gary, have they cleaned up every year? That's
Very,
wonderful.
very responsible group.
By the way, that is something we need to remind people, that 10 o'clock, because
Just wondering.
in my neighborhood, that 10 o'clock was
That's when the party starts.
That does not fly. So,
Okay, so, motion to approve the block party.
Gary will make that motion.
No, I can't.
You can't?
No, I don't want to.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Okay, in favor?
Aye.
Okay, next item is, we got a permit application from National Grid to do a gas line replacement on Bayberry, which was just repaved last year.
Of course.
Yes, I
Do they
know.
wait until they see what roads we?
So,
and then-
so for the record, Ronnie, myself, and Rich just met with them a couple of weeks ago, at the last meeting before this meeting. And we agreed we would all work together on working multiple years in advance so that we're not paving streets when they rip up, that we're going to pave the streets that they're going to rip up, and we're all going to work cooperatively together.
Yeah, that worked.
Well, that didn't work really well because literally 2 weeks later, we get a request from them from Bayberry.
I
So.
think it's, did they?
It's
That's
hard for them
fine.
to predict though.
It's
If there's-
dark, you know,
Sorry.
let's replace the gas.
No,
on
the
that
block,
street.
the block, man.
Are they,
The
are,
block. They want to
what's-
replace the entire gas main on your block and rip up your beautiful street that we just paid a lot of money.
And they're only gonna fix the trench, right? They're not gonna pave the
No,
half.
so what they would do is, in the case of when there's a bell hole, we did talk to them, they didn't want to do it, but we reiterated the meeting that we're going to enforce them doing curb to curb. However, in the case of trenching in the street, we usually partner with them on a 50-50 split to pave the street, to repave the street. We pay half and they pay half. And we've done that well on Country Club and a couple other streets. I've already spent money on that road.
Yeah, we already just.
I've already just now approved, we've already approved our road paving project for this year. We have no money to do anything else. Now, if they want to repave the entire street, that's great, that's on them. We haven't spoken, this literally, it's brand new information. So the reason we want to update our road opening restoration policy is to strengthen our policy dealing with, so before we had it with bell holes, but we didn't have it for total road rip up. So that's why we want to change this policy to a 10-year moratorium on brand new roads. Unless they come into the board, or Ronnie, myself, and Rich, and we work out an agreement that it's something that we can all work on. And it's not an emergency. If it was an emergency, yes, they can rip up the road. This is just gas line replacement.
it's just a replacement project?
It's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade.
It's an upgrade, it's not.
So,
We would never stop an emergency.
no, I'm just trying to understand what is prompting this.
They are upgrading the gas mains across the entire village.
You know why they do. They're racing against the clock
Right.
to get
Well,
gas in before.
Yeah,
But I think
exactly.
they're also answering a consumer desire, so it's coming from the consumer.
This isn't adding any new
It's not.
homes. No, this is just to replace the main. They've upgraded
To
other
upgrade it.
mains. They've
How
upgraded
old
other
is
mains. I can't answer that question, but again, they should have known about this years ago. Rich
Right.
talks to them every year. This is a surprise.
So
upgrade.
one thing we could do on our side is when we know that it's happening, that we record it and overlay it onto our roadmap for doing repairs so that we understand, oh, that's been I mean, obviously there are utilities besides gas, but gas is the most.
They don't
likely.
tell us.
I know.
They don't
No,
have
my
like a
point
5-year
is-
plan.
My point is if we know something that's going in, like that now we just learned, we should record that onto our.
So we in essence do.
Okay.
It's something Rich keeps records of.
Right.
So it's something we work in partnership with.
Okay, good.
This is X partnership. This is, they just, after speaking to them, it's something.
I
different.
understand.
So Gary, you're micromanaging the system here.
I'm not-
But it's changed, we want to change the policy to prevent them from doing this or waiting just 2 years and ripping up the entire thing. We spent a lot of money to do Bayberry. I don't want to have to spend all that money again at the
Agreed.
detriment of another road that's on our paving
Right.
schedule
Let's move
in
on.
the future we'll be able to do. So,
Move on.
thank you. Is this a vote to do this?
Yeah, this needs to be voted on, change the
So,
policy.
I'll make a motion to change our policy, which is changing .8 to call out minor versus full road opening permits.
You know what, I forgot to, I did not put in there, in that, another sentence should say unless up with the, restoration is paid paid by 100% by the utility, then they can do it.
Okay.
So,
So-
Well, that would be, that in essence would be part of that negotiation part that we have here. So I'll make the motion to update our policy.
Do I have a second? Deputy Mayor, all in favor?
nobody wants a second tonight.
I know.
They're all shy. The next add-on is that, I've been contacted by, NYPIRG, the Public Interest Research Group, that they're going to be canvassing again this summer. You know, I responded to that. They've been pretty compliant. They have to follow, that they follow our do not solicit list, that they honor our do not solicit stickers. They are going to get back to me with a list of canvassers, just informational. They only go out between 5 and dusk. And it's during late June until early August.
So I will add this to the mayor's newsletter to give everyone a heads up, and if they
And
want
if
to
they
sign
wanna
up
sign
for
up
the,
stickers,
they want to sign up for our do not solicit list, let's have them sign up for the do not solicit list.
that's my report.
Rich, do you have a report or no report?
No, I'm not.
Thank you for planting the hostas on Middle Neck Road today. I appreciate that.
Rich, is there a reason the water fountain by the playground isn't on? Is it broken or?
No, it should be on.
I don't think so. The dog one is, but the one,
That one's not working.
You just have
It
to
hasn't-
put that
it
on
hasn't
the
been
resume.
working.
it hasn't been working. I only know that because when I run by and I check it every time, say maybe it's working today, it's not working.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
on.
I know, the dog one is, but the other one is
Mary
not.
Jo, we only care about those dogs.
I know you do.
And I'm tired of getting on my hands and knees to get to the water.
He brings his own bowl, a little folded one. My dog
I'll
has.
take a look.
All right, thanks.
Okay, mayor's report?
Zoning report?
BZA?
Oh, I'm sorry.
You skip Jeff. Just because he's late doesn't mean you have to skip
Yeah,
him.
and tan.
Punishing him.
Apologies for being late.
I just came up from vacation just now. I just flew in from the.
No, he had other business he was attending to.
Look out to you.
He's a runner. He's
So
a
the BZA has several matters, one of which this board recently heard, you had approved a lot line change for 12 Hewlett Lane. That's a property that the owner had previously received about 4 or 5 variances from BZA, one of which that was not granted involved a request to have a fire pit that's 0 feet from the lot line. The board had allowed them to move a portion of the pit, but not to keep it right on the lot line. They then purchased property from the neighbor, and by doing so, they removed the need for every variance but one. It still involved the fire pit, but they now moved it to be 8.1 feet from the lot line as opposed to 10 feet as required. The board felt that they've seriously mitigated all the potential impact on surrounding neighbors. At the meeting, the attorney also explained why they still were seeking a portion of a variance instead of purchasing a little bit more property, and that dealt with issues of ownership between the two landowners, and they just weren't able to make the deal to obtain the one further foot. So the board approved that, believing that it lessened any incursion on the surrounding area. The second was a return involving 309 Crabapple Road. The applicant originally sought to exceed permitted floor area ratio to have an amount of 0.342. Essentially, they went back to the drawing board and came back and reduced the amount that they were seeking, so that they were now seeking, I believe it was just 0.327, where 0.32 is what's permitted, and essentially the overage was just met by an overhead ceiling, so there really would be no further volume change other than that, and the board felt that that was a good way to mitigate any impact. The third was on 10 Chanticleer Drive. The applicant came before the board seeking variance relief to install a pool heater so that the side yard requested side yard setback will be 1 foot as opposed to what's permitted is 20, and the rear yard would be 8 as opposed to what's permitted, which is 10. And after discussion and after input from Mr. Obenski, it was determined that if they were to move the pool heater, they could achieve the benefit they sought by being 4 feet from the rear yard and 10 feet from the side. And the board approved it with that change. And the final was also a return. This was at 79 Farmview Road. The applicant was seeking to erect a fence in the front yard on the spur where front yard fences are prohibited. The reason they returned was because the board was not necessarily opposed to the fence being there, giving the explanation of the circumstance, but wanted to make sure that it was heavily screened. The homeowner returned with, the applicant returned with a plan that involves screening and agreed that the any fencing would be behind the planting plan. The board approved that subject to submission to the board of both a deed and an affidavit from the new owner confirming that the new owner was aware of and in support of the application being made. Those documents have since been submitted. I think the Shad's camera's not, so they've been submitted. And the board found with the modifications between the last meeting and this meeting that the variance would not have any negative impact on the surrounding area, or to the extent that it did the benefit to the owner outweighed it. And they approved it with those modifications. And that's my report.
Thank you, Jeff. Any questions from the board? Excellent. Mayor's report. I have a couple of quick things. Thank you, Ronnie, for ordering the trees, and thank you, Rich, for a successful Arbor Day sapling giveaway. Mine is planted and actually doing very well this year. I attended Roslyn Water District's ribbon cutting ceremony to open up the modifications to the new well on Mineola Avenue. I attended the NCVOA event last month. So did Ms. Collins, and so did Deputy Mayor Janice. And it was a wonderful presentation by the acting assessor, Matt Cronin, and our county controller and former mayor and current resident, Elaine Phillips, on our appraisals on the whole assessment system. It was a very good experience. Learned a lot of new things about how the assessment system works. I attended the police commissioners community council meeting where they went into details on their Project 21, which is when they send their younger undercover officers in to make alcohol and tobacco purchases and shut down businesses that should not be selling said materials to underage people. Fortunately, none of our businesses that I've heard of is doing any of that, so that's good, our gas stations. My big reminder, June 15th, my favorite day of the year. Why is that, Frank?
Because it's halfway through June.
No, that's the day we stop allowing the use of gas.
Oh,
Leaf
it's the
blowers.
day we stopped using here.
It's one of my favorite days of the year. So landscapers, be on note, stop using those blowers because our residents will call and complain. And we have a code enforcer out there who will ensure compliance. The Katie Oppo Memorial Run is this Sunday at Village Park. So come out and support that. And I think that's the end of my report for now. Thank you very much. Do we have any trust?
Is there a time on the run-ins?
I don't have it here. I have the flyer.
9 a.m. I happen to know that.
You'll be
because I'm
running.
Running.
Oh, okay. Good. We'll look for you.
9 a.m.
Yeah, well, you might come late. No, I'm kidding. You'll still see me running along.
Mary Jo, I expect you to win. Win it for the
Maybe my
village.
age group, you never know. Just hope.
You know, I'm very thankful that Liz Oppo continues to use our park. I think it's a great cause, and we're always here to support it every year. Any trustee reports? Nothing on the harbors or anything, Mr. Lewandowski?
No, but
Meeting
would you mind
later.
if I shared just as a reminder to people? My house was broken into today, and I arrived home while it was being broken into. Yes, and the reason I'm telling you this is, so 12:30, and I'll give you the Reader's Digest. 12:30, I arrived home, and I have a very, now that I'm retired, I schedule them in and out at all different times, so there's no set time that they would be able to say she's here, you know, my husband or myself are here or not, they work in and out all day. Anyway, 12:30, there's a strange car in my driveway. It doesn't dawn on me that, you know, my husband, I said, maybe it's somebody measuring for carpet or something, I don't know. But they parked strange, and I go in, I was bike riding, put it in the garage, come back out, and the next thing I know is the car screeches out backwards. I don't even know how, like, they could barely, they parked in the middle of a narrow driveway. So then I went inside, and I noticed that my side door was like broken, like somebody had taken it. I only know they used a crowbar because that was laying on my bed upstairs. Yes, and there was, you know, drawers opened, that kind of thing. So first of all, I want to commend the Nassau County District 6. I called 911 right away. I will tell you, there was somebody there within a minute and a half. Then they came, detectives came, the crime scene people came. And because I caught them in the act, essentially, nothing was taken. But that's not the point. I said to him, I have my meeting tonight. We've already had as a village, and we had a rash of car larcenies, right, car theft. And they came in and they spoke to us and said, how can we prevent this? Number one, and he reiterated again, a lot of the larcenies that would happen, people are looking at cars, right? So first of all, yes, lock your car, that type of thing. But it was interesting, he said, you know, anything you could remember. And I said, well, what can people do to deter this type of thing? He said, number one, have an alarm.
Yeah.
So of course we have one. Do I set it? No, I didn't set it midday. Use your alarm and make sure it's loud. Number two, he said, cameras are good. I mean, my neighbor across the street, you know, where I live, across the street, they were able to go and they actually, I got home at 12:34, which I know. They came at 12:27, drove into my driveway. Two guys rang the bell. Nobody was answered. They went around the side, but he captured that on his camera. So they could corroborate that it was two people. But apparently then they, you know, and then the detectives came and there was an incident in Valley Street. They think it's related, people coming from the Bronx. They're in and out. So I think just the bottom line is to, you know, you feel violated, right? It's if somebody's in your house, it's a horrible feeling. Like, what if I can't, you know, God forbid they use the crowbar on me, but it's not funny. But my point is, you know, do yourself a favor, and if you can have either camera or have an alarm system, use it. You know, it's scary, but we've been fortunate. We haven't really, I looked at the report every month, and we had no larcenies, we had no burglaries. Why did they pick my house? Like, it's very, so you're always like, it would happen to somebody else.
No cars in the driveway.
It's a nice house, you know, they look for, you know, nice houses that don't have any cars in the driveway, that look like people are at work, you know,
Yeah, so anyway, I would
Did they dust for prints? And
oh
everything?
yeah.
So when my house got robbed, like almost 15 years ago, they dusted for prints, and the dummy left prints all over the place, and they did arrest him. So hopefully
I mean, they left the crowbar and he dropped something else and I touched nothing.
Good.
I guess I've watched enough crime
Well,
shows.
Well, listen, the most important thing is we didn't get hurt. No one was home when it happened.
Exactly. And
They went in
they
one
definitely
way, they
picked
ran
the
out
wrong
the other
house
way.
for my house, because they came up and zip, It wasn't nothing, so.
Too bad Elaine wasn't with you. She would have broken their legs.
Yeah.
She would have shot.
Anyway, that's my trust report, just a
Wow.
reminder, and perhaps in the mayor's,
I
I don't know
will-
if that's
I
something
will-
you wanna highlight, I'd be glad to.
I won't highlight it at your house, but I will highlight the general
And just a
tips that we've
reminder
done.
to residents to
Mhm.
do their part,
I
to
will try to
deter-
get that message across as often as I can.
Yeah.
Yes, it's all about setting the alarm. That will stop people.
anyway,
Even if you go out for 5 minutes.
yes,
Even when you're home, you're supposed to set your alarm. There's arm
Yeah.
stay and there's arm away, and even when you're home, you should
Yeah.
set your alarm. It's the standard business practice. Any other trustee reports?
Any old business? Business.
All right, let's go to new business.
Introduce local law I. This will allow violations to accrue daily. Right now, our code has a violations accrue weekly. So this means that a continuing penalty can be imposed each day rather than
So-
each week.
We're not looking to be police state here in Flower Hill. However, there have been some recent instances where there are some people who know that they can get away with certain things. Let's say using their backyard as a used car lot, and they think that getting a ticket once a week is a cost of doing business. And it's awful that they're parking in the backyards, they're parking on the side yards. You can see the tire tracks on their lawn. You might have an instance where someone puts the porta potty where it's not supposed to be located, and imagine living next to that. If they don't want to move it, that's a once a week fine. Having things like that help out. And other types of nuisance behavior that can go in the village. It kind of handcuffs our code enforcer to only be able to do these things on a weekly basis. So that's why we're looking to change this to a possible daily basis based on our code enforcer's discretion on. Yeah, and again, it's not blanket for everything, but there's certain things that happen. You might have a resident that has a massive amount of debris in their yards, and we have front yards. It just piles up, and they don't care about a weekly summons. They live with it, but when you start getting daily summonses, that could be a good impetus to stop the behavior. So really, it's just on some of these troublesome things. We had some issues with a dumpster located in the wrong location. That was a problem for another resident. It was right up against their property line. Again, the cars being parked in various places they shouldn't be parked. And we have other residents who park their cars on the lawn all the time, thinking that lawn front yards is a good place to park a car. I don't think it's a good place, personally. So I'd like to introduce that local law for public hearing next Board of Trustees meeting. If someone would like to second.
Deputy Mayor, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Then lastly, we have an appeal of the arborist decision on tree removal at 20 Ridge East. If you would like to address the board, please.
Hi, my name is Sherry and I live at.
Your last name?
Wall. I live at 20 Ridge Drive East. I'm sorry, my husband couldn't be here tonight. I have a young baby and he's watching it tonight. I apologize for his absence. I just would like to know why I had the arborist deny me of removing very dangerous trees on my property, I guess.
Can I ask you first why you decided to remove trees without a tree permit?
I just had moved into the house and I had no idea that there was even such a thing about in place, like I had told you.
And the tree company didn't know. So here's a better question for you. How many trees were you going to remove that day before the
I was
village
just
found out that you were removing trees? Were you going to do the 2 trees that you were caught, or were you going to cut down all 6 or 7?
I planned on pruning a lot of the branches that were overhanging stuff, and then I also noticed that things were on top of my roof and touching my house, which are extremely dangerous too. So that's why I wanted to know.
So so the question is, are you trying to remove all the trees on your property, or are you saying about pruning?
I had planned on starting with pruning, and
But-
then I noticed that there was other trees hitting my house as well.
So was there any pruning activity that happened last week, or was it just tree removal?
Pruning mostly, pruning branches that were overhanging on my top of my house.
So the pictures that our code enforcer took of a tree stump and another tree, if anyone drives by the house, that's basically a very large stick right now.
So
That's
the
pruning?
tree stump that you see was a dead tree that was completely dead.
Determined by
An arborist,
what arborist?
that I had a few different tree people come to determine
So
estimates.
what tree company cut the trees down?
I don't even know the name of the tree.
LeMay.
So,
No, that wasn't who was there.
That's not, I tried to list it on the burner.
but that's for this new trees that they're looking to remove.
Yeah, that wasn't.
So any legitimate tree company, and I drove by your house, and unfortunately I didn't stop to see what company it was, and the logo is very familiar. All tree companies that do work in this village understand that we have a tree permitting process. This was not a fly-by-night company from Queens that would come in and just cut trees down. So I find it a little disingenuous that you're saying that the tree company, which you wouldn't even tell our code enforcer or myself who the tree company
He
was.
never gave me the name of his company. That's what I'm saying. I apologize for that, and it won't happen again, but going forward, I truly did not know.
You hired a tree company, but you don't know their name.
I just know the name of the gentleman that cut the trees. Like I said, I had just purchased this house, and I'm dealing with a lot of people painting and doing just various things. I work full-time plus, and I truly did not.
How'd you pay him?
I was going to pay him cash.
Because I'm trying to understand, because it could happen, I just want to hear your
I
side.
mean, this is what.
Was, you moved in and you wanted all this stuff done to take care of it, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I
And
plan on.
was he recommended, like, how did he come to you? So
Okay.
tell me, I
Yes.
think it would be helpful if we, like sometimes a neighbor will say, hey, I have this guy,
Exactly.
you pay him cash, and that's, I mean, so I'm just kind of wondering how
So,
he came
yes.
about, so we can
Mary Jo, you
understand.
are correct. So
I've
I
been there, so
have, I have a few different people come for fence estimates, for tree estimates, and one of the many estimates that I got, the fence guy said, I know that these trees are on some of your property lines, and in order for you to put a fence, you have to take down some of these dead trees. I had no idea of any tree people. I had just moved here, and one of the multiple fence companies gave me a number of a guy, something tree service. That's all I got. That's what I'm saying.
So you
And
never,
going forward, I plan on using that company, a much more responsible company.
so you had no contract, no estimate,
Nothing.
just the guy told you a number.
A handshake. I mean, not even.
Okay.
I'm being completely honest with you.
So I'll say for the record, so you were issued a violation. Actually, I think you were issued at least 2 violations for 2 trees that were
And I
cut down.
apologize for that happening. From the bottom of my heart, that was not my intention at all.
I understand.
I want to
We
do the right
spoke,
thing.
but I need the board to understand the situation that's going on. So why do you need, so when this house was built 15 years ago, I'm guessing, if I remember when this house was built, at the time, the builder took care to work around all the existing trees, because I know your house pretty well, and those trees are all mature trees. They weren't planted after the construction was done. Those are trees that were intentionally preserved to keep the neighborhood beautiful. People buy in this village, and I assume that's why you moved into this village, because of the trees and because of the wonderful schools and the great location. So these aren't newer trees, they're older trees, and it's rare, as Gary knows, that a builder will preserve so many trees. Correct, Gary? Usually when they're building a new house, and this is a nice sizable house, it's a beautiful home. They built the house around the trees. They made sure that these trees wouldn't come down, as usually happens in a lot of these new construction, which I know you're very opposed to always. So those trees were intended to be there. Now, if they were sick and dying, we have a mechanism to have our arborist come out. We charge for dead trees all of $50 as a permit. So it's something that when you move in, you're required to understand the laws of the municipality that you're living in. So I'm concerned that now that you want to cut down 4 more trees for a total of 6 trees, it sounds like.
No, it's just 4 total.
What about the 2 that you already cut down?
That's inclusive of.
That's inclusive of.
That's
Is that your understanding of this, Ronnie?
It's totally 4, that's what I'm looking to find out.
I've never been at the site, so I don't know.
So you're
4 total.
So you're looking to cut down 2 more trees in addition to the tree you've already removed?
I didn't completely remove any tree. There's no tree that's completely removed. They started,
I thought you said one was I saw a picture, one's a stump.
yeah, that's not completely removed. It's still a stump.
Well,
Good luck growing it back.
Last I saw a stump
Yeah.
usually doesn't grow back to begin with.
Of course not, but it was dead to begin with.
So your application for a tree permit right here that I received a copy of is for, you're trying to legalize 2 of the trees that you've already killed.
I didn't kill a tree.
How'd you know they were dead?
Because I told you I had multiple tree people come to tell me and walk around the property to assess what was dead or not dead. And there's multiple other reasons why I wanted to get rid of trees. I can gladly share them with you. But you can't continue. Sorry.
So I just want to understand, we're looking for 4 total trees. 2 that have been already, we stopped you from finishing 2 trees, and you're looking for 2 additional trees.
I believe so, yes.
You believe so or you know so? I need to understand, the board, I think, needs to understand what this
Yes,
application
sure.
is.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Frank, you wanted to say something?
Gary,
Gary, I'm
do
sorry.
we know what species these trees are?
I do. So I actually had, like I said, a few different tree people come and they were telling me a few different things about a few different names of the trees. Hold on. So one of them is actually one of the most invasive trees on Long Island, and it grows over 1 foot a year. And not only that, but it lifts up the sidewalk and it's lifting up the masonry that's in my walkway, and it's causing people to fall and it's causing roots to uplift.
And the tree is cold?
That's called a tulip tree.
And if you want to know, I fell. I had stitches. I hurt myself.
Okay.
And I'm a grandmother that comes city. I'm pretty upset.
Is that the tree in the front of the house?
Correct.
Okay.
Which, because these are kind of the caliber, and these are
Pardon?
pretty small.
They're not that big, yeah. That's
I don't believe that, and I don't have the pictures, but I don't believe that the tree that was already, that's now a stump, is only that small.
Right,
I believe it's significantly
right.
wider, which is why this application is very confusing.
So you have a tulip tree, and what else is, what else?
I think some of the other names are, I mean, I'm not an arborist, but I'm just jotting down from
Right.
what I've noted. One of them is a sweet gum tree.
Sweet gum,
I
right?
believe.
Yep.
Another one is called a, I think the other one is called a,
Regardless,
I
we
don't
don't,
think
it's not true.
sorry, I wrote down one.
Okay, that's fine.
So,
I mean, the sweet gum actually is one that would be one of the trees that would be considered for a new street tree, actually.
right, it's one of the trees I think, give saplings out for.
Yeah, and the tulip tree, actually, I'm in Dartmouth. That's where we're having the party this month. All that whole block is tulip.
Yeah, I
tree,
have
so
tulip, I have tulip.
yeah, so I'm not sure what I don't. I guess it's invasive because
It's
think-
the fastest growing tree on Long Island. It grows a foot a year, and I saw a photo of it. They're not even supposed to be planting them because they get so large, the tree arborists.
well, you have to plant them in the right place.
And
yeah.
they're not planted in the right place,
Right.
correct? That's also.
Okay.
Get away from structures.
So I don't know where you're
So-
heading on this, but
Oh, I have a place
It's
to head.
directly in front of my house, right on my
So-
walkway.
So what we traditionally do with tree permits is when tree permits are granted, it's 1 for 1. Usually a tree that's cut down, another tree that's replaced.
That's what,
Is that what you're looking to
yeah,
do?
that's what, what's her name?
And,
Anne told me, yeah, and I was fine with that.
but according to your testimony here, you're allergic to trees.
Yeah, so she was going to work with me to find trees that were non-allergenic. I'm extremely allergenic to trees. And that was one of the other issues that I had recently with a severe hives reaction that I sent a photo of my face. And I mean, I had all over my body, to be honest with you.
I do
But
not.
I told her I would work with her to find a tree that was non-allergenic, and I'm totally fine with that.
So We'll have to speak with the arborist. I don't know if any tree is,
She actually told me to look into it, and she said I would be able to give her names, and she'd be more than happy to go ahead with that.
I will also reach out to the arborist. So if you were to get the tree permits granted, even though our arborist is telling me that they're live trees, are you willing to replace them?
Yes,
Are you willing to replace them based on the recommendations of the arborist?
non-allergenic ones, yes.
What if these
I
non-allergenic
mean,
trees
they
don't?
don't cause pollen, they don't make people that have severe allergies like me
They're
ready
called,
to hide.
they're evergreen trees. Deciduous trees all create pollen. That's how you get deciduous trees. Otherwise, there'd be no trees. How do you think they?
No.
That's how the bees
There's-
pollinate.
There's a pine tree in front of my house.
So there are conifers you can get, which are non-allergenic and don't have pollen.
We don't, I know what Gary said, that's not
But I
on
don't know if
our,
you
that's
want-
not really on our approved tree list.
No,
And
I think this is gonna be a difficult question to answer. So, I don't, but yes, most deciduous trees are gonna have pollen.
Right.
It's just, are you allergic to every form of pollen? Is that it, or?
Specific
But
trees.
I'm willing to work with.
so, question, other than a letter from urgent care that says it is possibly a reaction to tree pollen, you knew about these tree allergies before you bought a house with trees?
No, I've always had allergies my entire life, but I wasn't until I was living there that I realized that these trees were.
So where did, may I ask, from where you came to move into Flower Hill?
Not anywhere near here.
Right, so it's common knowledge, when you move to a new geography, you actually, you get a spike in allergies in your reaction, because you're not used to the local,
You need honey,
Uh,
local honey.
yeah, so you're not used to the local ecology. So it might take you a couple of years to get used to it, but you
I
will
mean,
get.
I'm gonna end up in the hospital every single weekend, you're telling me? That's
Well,
okay.
I don't know,
use
I
an
mean-
Inhaler as well.
Oh, okay. If
Well, the
if
only
it's that
company-
serious, then I don't know what to tell you, because,
I have a.
you know, just because you don't
Use
have
our
trees,
inhalers,
just because you don't have trees on your property doesn't mean there's not pollen
but
in
they're
there.
very close to my house, that's what I'm saying,
I'm-
if they're set back. I don't
Right,
think that
I'm
would be-
sure the pollen that affects me is not the pollen grown on my trees.
I mean,
either.
even Jack, who was at my house last week, and he even said he was in my backyard, and he said he would even vouch for how much he was coughing from the amount of trees that were in my backyard. I'm not wanting to take down all of them, I only want to take down the ones that are closest to my house and the ones that are on the fence line, so I can put a fence where the fence is, where the
So
tree
let
is
me
on the
understand
fence
something
line.
here. So you want to replace trees because of an allergy, you're replacing trees for a fence? Because I'm hearing multiple stories here.
There's it's twofold, there's two reasons for it. I have allergies, and I also want to put a fence
Okay,
as well.
so here's my recommendation. I'm not prepared to overrule our village arborist.
When I saw her the other day, by the way, when I met with her, she was fine with everything that I was saying, to be completely honest with you. She said, that's not a problem, as long as you come up with solutions for
So,
that type of tree, I'm
Let me
fine with
finish.
it.
Until
Sorry.
your violations are satisfied in our village court, I don't think this board should grant you any permits until that issue is taken care of. Plain and simple. Like you're gonna have to replant those trees as well and deal with the court and whatever fines they decide to levy against you or your lands or the tree company, which you haven't provided to.
Mayor,
to
that's
them.
over a month from now to come, for me to come. Now, you're saying that you want all of those weeds that I had dug up myself to sit there for another month
So
while people have
I'm
to
glad,
see
I'm
unsightly?
glad you brought that
I'm
up.
willing to take it, to
I'm
clean it up
glad
and
you
to
brought that
beautify
up.
my neighborhood.
Why don't you clean up
I
the,
can't do that without a tree service coming. I'm
Okay.
not,
so let me explain
no
something.
landscaper's gonna
You
clean it
can-
up.
Contact, who's mowing your lawn now?
I don't have somebody yet because I'm waiting to clear the trees.
So whoever's
The
doing your
debris.
landscaping, or if you contact any of the landscapers that
They
drive
don't
by,
do it, I've already asked. They don't do it, I've already asked.
So you're-
I want to beautify my property just as much as
so
you
you're
want.
telling me that the large piles of debris that's been in front of your house 3+ weeks now, no one is willing, you can't pay anybody any money to
They
take
don't
those?
haul it away, that's why I have those bags. Those bags that are sitting in front of my garage that I don't want there either are considered yard waste. Dejana does not want to take them.
So Ronnie,
The gardeners take yard
They
waste.
don't want to take.
My
them.
gardener takes, I mean,
I don't know
Maybe
what
you-
you're paying yours for Christmas tip, but mine doesn't, I don't have anybody that's willing to take it.
So Ronnie, let's.
There's too much wrong
They're
with, there's too
required
much
to,
wrong.
I mean, they're not
It's too
gonna
low.
take 40 bags at
There's
once.
too much wrong with this whole story. It is,
Free out of
It
the
is,
time.
you know what, I just have to tell you, I asked my son-in-law.
you didn't
I
ask
said,
him,
"You put
Lynn.
out one bag,
This lady.
like you
That's my mom.
suggested."
You have to stand up and
No,
give your
because
name.
I'm concerned.
You have to stand up and give your
I
name.
can't recognize you without interference.
Can you let Ronnie know who that is? I'm sorry.
Your name is Melanie Wall.
That's my mom.
Okay, and I'm concerned because I go there and I'm like, how come the garbage man don't take a bag?
Because the garbage men don't take landscape. You need a landscaper. All
But the mayor
landscapers take.
told, you told.
Yeah, usually if you have your
One at a
personal,
time.
how about I speak here? If
So you suggested one bag each week,
So-
right?
so you
And
called
he
it.
did, and
so
you know
you
what he
called-
told him?
What did he say?
They took it.
I have it on the
They
camera.
separated, you
look,
won't take
They
it.
don't even take it.
So
I
Ronnie,
literally have it on the camera.
let's get that. It's Ronnie.
All right,
If
I'll
we
call
called the
Janet
Janet Industries
Please.
and we asked them to do their job,
I will
which they
ask
do throughout the entire
To
village.
take a reasonable number of bags at each pickup.
Is that just
You
the
know what I was
bags?
gonna do? I live in town of Huntington in a gated community, and I was gonna take a bag, like, do I have to do that each week and put it out in my garbage?
So you do have an alternative with those bags of garbage. I have done this myself when I've had massive amount of debris. I put it in my car, and on Sunday, you can actually go down the hill to the town of North Hempstead transfer station, and they weigh your car when you drop it off, and they weigh your car on the drive out, and there's these wonderful, beautiful dumpsters that you can drop debris off. I've done it when I've taken down play sets. I've done it when I've had a massive amount of garden waste, and I was having a party and I wanted to get rid of it. So everyone here can
But
do
you
that.
know, when you have a certain kind of car and it doesn't really work in. a
I also
city,
have car seats in my car.
You know.
So I'm not
it's-
gonna, I'm
Can
trying to
you guys
give
just
you,
call up the garbage sanitation, see?
I'm trying to
Should we
help you
cut it
here.
out, like,
So
slowly?
additionally, our carting company will not take those piles of brush that you have.
That's not what we're talking about, the bags.
So what about the piles of brush that are on the side of
So
the
the tree
property?
service is the only person that's going to take that. And I can't have a tree service come one day just to pick up.
But you,
What about the guy who cut the tree down?
No, no.
they ran away.
I'm not dealing with them because they're non-professional. I don't want to deal with somebody. I'd rather use somebody like I told you, to be quite honest with you, and I want to do it the right way. But that's why I'm saying. The tree company will come and they will clear the sides of all the garbage stuff. And they will also take down the trees that are on my fence line and also help me breathe better, all at the same time, all in one
So
shot.
as an allergy sufferer who has to wear a mask when I do my own landscaping, because I have similar issues to you, happened to me this weekend. I was trimming all my deciduous trees and my evergreens, sorry, and I was coughing up a storm for the entire day. I empathize with you on the allergies, but you're going to have to deal with the court first on your violations of your 2 trees. And then when that's taken care of satisfactorily, then we can work with you on your other tree permits.
That's over a month from now. I can't have
That's the way it's going to have to
there.
work. The village code is there for a reason. We're very serious in this village about protecting our trees. You and your company violated that local law, and you need to deal with the courts first before we're going to figure out on cutting down more trees. And you haven't even provided with us these hypoallergenic trees that are not going to cause you any allergies in the future.
I'd be more than happy to do that. That's what I'm telling you.
What about evergreens? Can you do evergreens?
We don't really consider evergreens as trees in this village.
But they are.
You can have 1 or 2. You can have
They don't,
some.
yeah, they don't allow that.
We're looking at 4 here.
They grow pretty big, I mean, where I live, they.
There's nothing you can do. It's up to the courts. The violation is issued.
Correct.
I mean, poplar,
Do they,
you know,
do
would
they
work.
understand?
I don't know what's a hypoallergenic tree.
Do you understand that there's nothing the board can do because it's in the courts now? You have been issued a violation. We cannot do anything right now until you clear that violation.
And we
with the
tend
court.
not to issue other permits, forget trees, for other types of permits when there's existing violations on a property. It's not against the Wall family. It's what we do with all village residents here.
I mean, if you were living in my house, sorry.
Ginkgo.
Yeah, ginkgo is, non-allergenic because it's not deciduous.
Okay.
Ginkgo? Yes, it is. It's one on the street.
But the way it
Yeah,
it
doesn't
reproduces, it's not.
it's an amphicygus. I used to work at the New York Botanical. I should know this stuff. You know everything.
So,
Really?
though I am empathetic to your situation,
Dogwoods too.
you really, we'll work with the carting company on getting rid of those garbage bags. You need to quickly figure out how to get rid of that brush. It's brown, it's getting ready to catch on fire if someone dropped a cigarette when they
I
throw.
agree with you, it's very
But
dangerous.
that's
why-
something, it is impossible to believe that there is no landscaping company that if you pay money to, will not take that away.
That they're gonna cost me double the money, like, it's going to cost me more from the landscaping company than it would for the tree service to just remove it and put it in there.
But you can't have Frank, do you drive by that house?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see the piles of debris?
Yeah.
It's gotta go.
I don't want it either there, that's what I'm saying,
So
I want
then
to clean it.
hire a landscaper to remove it.
A lot, first of all, I've been trying to get landscapers, they're flaky, they don't show up,
Do
they,
you have any recommendations, anybody?
Oh, why don't you-
Who's your neighbor? Who's your neighbor?
everyone tells me something different, and then the people that I do call, they say they're gonna come for an estimate, and they don't even come. They
Paul
don't even-
Bartlett. Well, that's true.
No, don't, it's Bartlett.
And then other ones, and then some of the other ones, they wouldn't even talk to me unless I had a sprinkler system there. I'm saying an underground sprinkler system.
They're not gonna take your garbage away unless you have a
Because they want
sprinkler.
the whole, they
want-
don't want to just come and take your garbage. That's what she's saying. She's trying to say that they don't want to just come and take, because they want her to
So
have a
go,
sprinkler system
you
or all
can
this
go
other
on
thing and hire them. That's what it
nextdoor.com,
is.
you can go into like the
I-
Penny
I
Said, the
truly tried,
newspaper,
that's what
the
I'm saying.
Manhasset
I've gone to
Times,
everything.
there's
I've gone to others.
There's tons of ads in the back of the Manhasset Times.
So I think
or
you've
the
been
Forest
fortunate.
Times for people who do this kind of stuff.
You've been
clear
fortunate
brush,
that our
clean.
code enforcer hasn't written you a violation for all the debris. He probably should have multiple times over by now because it's been a long time. So I'm trying to advise you, get rid of the debris quickly before the code enforcer does write you a violation for that. Because you can see by the condition, it's all brown. It's been there for quite a while. And it's very nice that you cleaned up those shrubs because those shrubs were terribly overgrown. They were terrible. But you need to clean it up.
I mean,
So we do acknowledge that, right?
I know your house. I've been in your house multiple, previous homeowners. I've been in your
The
house. It's a
people that
beautiful house.
take-
But it-
who bought
those
the
shrubs
house
need to be
didn't maintain
trimmed.
it, and I want to maintain
It's
it.
very overgrown, and I can't believe that it was able to stay the way it was for that long. I was kind of.
Because there was renters. The
But
previous
somebody
two,
owned it, and it
You
was.
wanna-
Somebody
you wanna
that
bring it
owned
up?
They lived down the street and they did not maintain it.
So we just did a little research.
So
Trustee
I looked,
Lewandowski is coming.
I Googled
Google.
trees that don't cause allergies. Fifth from the top, tulip tree.
But it's not true though, because I ended up,
Oh, I guess
That's
the internet does
That's-
lie.
Google
Yeah.
is wrong.
Yeah, I guess the
Maybe.
National Arborist Society, what do they know about
Believe
trees?
everything you
So-
read on the internet.
Especially by the National Arborist Society, what do they know about trees?
Nothing.
Right.
So I
think it-
Can
think
anybody
it's
give
time.
a good do you have like names of?
I suggest you look in the news, in one of the
I just
flyers.
telling you, I have, and every single person I try to have
They
come,
don't come.
they don't wanna come, they're flaky, they say I don't have
We don't give
sprinklers.
recommendations.
You gotta just keep trying.
Landscapers.
All contractors are flaky, you
I
gotta
mean,
keep trying.
Mayor, you said in the beginning of this that you were talking about a gas line repair for some other property and how you wanna do things to fix things
Yeah.
and things that are in your, and if something is in need of an emergency repair, that is.
How is this an emergency repair to put
I
up a
consider this
fence?
an emergency, I'm saying the emergency repair is that half of these trees are infringing on top of my,
I don't envision that as, that's
they're on
not,
top of my roof.
How long have you owned the house?
A few weeks.
So these trees weren't there last month when you bought the house?
You know how long it takes to do things? How could you say that?
Yeah.
You say, you're acting
One
like these
person,
trees
I
just
work
came out of.
full-time and plus, and I have a baby.
And she works in.
You know what?
and she has a far commute. That's not fair to say.
That's
All right, you have a
no,
baby,
no,
so, okay, all right, I'm done.
all right.
You have a far commute, and she works with children, and she.
I work with children who have special
Don't say-
needs even.
Don't say that.
Okay.
It's not fair.
I want to do the right thing.
So the right thing is deal with the court.
I can't wait
To-
over a month
You,
from
but
now.
you can and you will. So you shouldn't have cut the trees down to begin with, and you did. And the interesting thing is, people saw it and called the village. It had nothing to do with me driving by. When I actually called the village to say, is there a permit for this? I was told that someone else already had called before someone else saw it. So you got to do the right thing and deal with the court. Once you finish with that and they decide the penalty and they decide on replanting schedule, then you can come in and apply for the other trees. But I can't give a permit to someone who has current violations. This is not an exception for you. It's what we do to everybody in this village who
So you're
has.
saying you're willing to accept me having hives every single week?
I'm not
until
saying
July?
that. I think you're putting
But
words in my mouth.
But that's essentially what
I'm
you're
not
saying.
saying that. So I unless the board wants to disagree,
That's
I
essentially
have,
what you're saying. I was in the
No,
urgent
it's what
care
you're
last week. I
saying.
was covered in hives because of this. They're so close to my property.
The tree in the front.
Ms. Wool presented with what appeared to be a rash consistent with COVID-19.
Keep going. There's more to that. sentence.
However, it may have also been due to severe allergic reaction to tree pollen. But the first thing they're saying is COVID-19, and it says you had COVID-19. So I feel bad that you're having allergies, and as an allergy sufferer, it sucks. But you need to deal with the outstanding violation with the court, and then this board will hear about replanting trees
I'm
schedule.
willing to do that, but that's over a month from now.
That's when the next, I can't adjourn court just for you. Court runs when court runs. Third week in the month, Ronnie?
Third.
Thank you. I always forget. You're gonna have to wait.
So
And it's only 2 weeks away.
Only 2 weeks.
It's July 20, my date is July 26th.
So it's 3 weeks.
Sure, if you go to court, she could adjourn you to the June date.
We could move you to the June
Yeah,
date. That's very easy. Call tomorrow, ask for Susan, ask for Susan Williams.
Wait, what is the June date?
28th, I think.
We can move, you can have it, this, if you want to move it up to the June meeting. Oh, our village attorney wants to speak with me.
Ron, do you have a list of the landscapers that we have
We don't do
approved?
recommendations.
What?
We don't do recommendations.
Do you have a list of the ones who are approved? So she could,
Yeah, but it's wonderful.
so at least she could have a list that are approved, so she's not there reinvent the wheel and.
I don't even have a resident.
Just keep calling them, they don't show up.
So we'll have, good night, ladies. Thank you for coming in.
Can we move, can we?
Yeah,
It's 10
I
o'clock.
won't be in tomorrow. so
Oh,
don't
jeez.
have to-
All right,
We gotta move on.
contact Susan Williams tomorrow. We'll have everyone in the office tell Susan you're gonna move the court date, and I assume they can move the court date for you, she'll be in 2 weeks, and you could deal with the court then. And then we'll talk at the July board meeting. Thank you for coming, and I will make a motion to go into executive session for a quick discussion on some contracts.
I just wanted to, so there was a motion to adjourn this to the next.
Yeah.
meeting of the board.
Yes, sorry.
Second.
Wait, I'm sorry. We're adjourning this tree matter to July 10th.
And we got to close.
Correct. And
Yes.
the motion, who made the motion?
I made the
Who
motion.
made the second, who seconded?
I'll second this,
Okay.
of course.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
That's your job.
Yes, if you may.
Close.
Ryan, abstention.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, it's involving trees.
Thank you, Max.
Bye, Mitchell. Oh, you got your
Good night,
pictures,
Mitchell.
good. Bye, go.
Can you close the door, Mitchell?
Rich will
Thank
close
you.
you. Rich, you
Oh.
can kill the machine.
Okay, executive session.
You're all invited to
Motion
the
by
art
Mayor,
studio.
second, executive session,
Elder
second.
Fields Art Studio.
AJ, all in favor? Aye, aye, aye.